Hey everyone, I've been getting your feedback, and some of you've been asking how to find deals in real estate. So, if you are trying to find a rental property on MLS and you're having trouble looking for one, or you are trying to find a real estate deal, but it's like a hot housing market, it's super competitive, or some of you are putting in offers and always getting outbidded. Well, in today's video, I'm going to cover how to find a good real estate deal in any market. So if you are an aspiring investor or you are a real estate investor just really keen to find your next rental property, then you got to check out today's video. In today's video, I'm going to cover 5 strategies of how to find a good real estate deal in any market. When I was starting out, I was like wasting a ton of time looking at a ton of real estate deals. I was looking at a ton of properties. I was searching on MLS. I was crunching out the numbers all the time and just wasting a ton of time not getting closer to finding a rental property. And honestly, it was so frustrating. But then when I dawned on me, when I was looking at reflecting on one of my best deals, I discovered a powerful strategy, which is what I'm going to share with you today. Now, before I dive in, I have a real estate toolkit for you. Please check out the link below, which is to help jumpstart your real estate investing journey. So be sure to click that link in the description below. Now, a lot of people haven't actually shared this strategy that I'm about to share with you. And I'm sharing it because I want to help as many people learn to invest, because it's such well, once you learn to invest, you compound your returns, you can design and live your best life. So this is why I'm sharing this. When I look back at some of my best real estate deals, like the best performing assets, I noticed there's a powerful strategy behind it. And it really comes down to the negotiation process. So, you know how people say you got to find a good real estate deal? It's actually not that way. You actually need to create the real estate deal, and it's through the negotiation process. So let me repeat that. You don't find a good real estate deal, but you create a good real estate deal. So probably the best way I can explain this is through an example. I found this real estate deal actually on MLS, and that's where the majority of my deals are coming from. And there were no MLS pictures. There was not much of a description really, but it was in the target neighborhood that I was absolutely searching for a property. It was also kind of in the price point it got me interested in. So I went and made an immediate viewing, and I asked a ton of questions while setting up the viewing. Like, what is the seller's, like, why is the seller selling? Like, who is this person? I was curious why there was no pictures posted. I wanted to get basically a ton of intel about the seller, and that's really positioning myself for the best success, because if I could figure out what the problems are, like why is this property on the market with no pictures, etc., then I could probably solve the seller's problems and not get so hung up on cost. So in this property, it had no pictures, it had an electric furnace. When you went inside, I saw it. It was like really outdated. There was hardly any furniture. There's some miscellaneous junk everywhere, and it basically was kind of like telling me like there's signs of potential here. So when I dug deep, my realtor told me by the time I got the viewing, he had a ton of answers already. It was an out of town seller. This person was 2 hours away from this property, and she was just trying to sell it for her brother because her brother passed away. So it was part of an estate deal, and she didn't want to deal with the heating costs, I found out, over the winter. And by knowing that, I just thought, wow, so this person is out of town, obviously probably does not have the time to deal with this property, hence why there's no pictures, and probably wants to close fast because, you know, she's in a tough situation. She's out of town, there's junk in this, and no one wants to deal with that, being out of town. So this is what I did. I did a fast closing. So fast that she didn't need to deal with any heating bills because I'll take care of that. I also said during the negotiation process, I said, I'm going to deal with the junk and don't worry about it, because that's easy stuff. I can deal with that. And I basically positioned the deal such that she wasn't hung up on the price point, but the fact that I was doing fast closing and I was covering, she didn't have to take care of heating bills and she didn't have to worry about the junk at the house. So anyways, it's like a no-brainer for her. She closed, she was accepted my offer. It was super easy peasy and it was great because it was a win-win situation. So bottom line is really what I did was I figured out what was the seller's pain points. I asked a ton of questions to my realtor to go deep, figure out the history of this property, figure out the intel from the other realtor as much as possible, and really ask around to figure out why is the seller selling. Because if you could figure out the pain points, then you can potentially negotiate a good deal and help solve their problems other than solving the problem of just the price point. Probably some of you are searching really, really hard on MLS. And don't get me wrong, some of my best deals have been found on MLS, but it really comes down to you figuring out what is your target neighborhood and what's the price point that makes you interested. So you've got to become a neighborhood expert so that you can find immediately what has potential, because it's just like shopping. You know, when say a certain clothing brand or a certain shoe, maybe a shoe's probably better, you're looking for as like say a certain brand of shoe, and you know when it's a good deal because there's sales. Now, of course, in retail, they'll say it's a sale, but in the MLS market, when you search and you find and get as many leads as you can from multiple real estate agents, you get to know the price point for that neighborhood. And you know when something is like below a certain range. Say typically I look at what's the average housing price for a 3-bedroom house in Ottawa. And if there's a property that's below that average price, that gets me interested. Some easy signs are there's no pictures on the property, and that's usually a good sign. Some realtors just don't put the effort to putting pictures up, or the realtor has trouble getting pictures from the seller, so they're not putting a lot of work in trying to get that property sold, essentially. So don't be worried if there's no pictures on MLS. It really comes down to, is it in the target neighborhood? So become a neighborhood expert, and is it in a price range that could get you like really, really excited? And don't be caught up with the pictures on MLS, because it's probably good that has no pictures because there's less competition. And some key filters you can find are estate. Your realtor can help you out in getting those types of leads and coming into your inbox. Sometimes it will say needs to close fast or needs to get rid of ASAP. Those are trigger points that, you know, the seller is probably really, really, really interested in just getting that property off the market. That's just a lot of good intel signs. Now, my third strategy is related to the last strategy, is that once you find something that's of interest, it's in your target neighborhood, it's potentially going to stimulate some of your interest because it's in a price range that gets you excited, then you got to look at the property ASAP. Let me stress on this again. You got to look at the property ASAP. So get your realtor, get a showing, and get in there as soon as possible, because once you're in that property, you can take a few minutes. Well, at least I do. Within 5 minutes, I know if it's a property that's of interest to me, because I can tell when I go into the property, and I usually already have a ton of questions. I ask, by the time I ask my realtor to make a showing, I've asked a ton of questions in my asking for a showing, what those questions are. So my realtor can do a lot of digging, and then by the time I see the property, I have some of my questions answered. My realtor has done a bit of digging and giving me some comparables. And thirdly, I know, looking at the property, if there's potential. And of course, I could crunch the numbers really quickly in my head. You can check out the video how to do that on top of here. So let me stress this again. Please make that showing right away. And if it's a deal that's worth looking into, basically you should be able to tell within a few minutes, or sometimes if you're new, obviously it might take a little bit longer, but you got to take action right away. Now, this leads to my fourth strategy. So some of you are probably like huge action takers. You are putting in offers, but you get outbidded all the time. And this is why I want to share this strategy, because it works. The strategy is, instead of looking at a market where there's tons of competition, look at a slower period in time. So one of the best seasons to look for a rental property is in the winter. And more specifically, during the winter, there are some very, very slow days where essentially no one is looking. And think of what days they could be. My two answers are Christmas and New Year's because, well, it makes sense. Everyone is very caught up with their family and doing, Christmas holiday dinners and all that. And not a lot of people want to look out during the winter. It's super cold and they're caught up with more important activities, which is spending time with their family. But if you are in a hot competitive market, then that's the best season is wintertime. And look at days where there's not going to be a lot of people out there because they're spending time with their family. Other days, say during the year, although I don't really like looking during spring and summer because it's more competitive. But if you are, and you're just really wanting to try to find a good real estate property, look at the slowest days during the year, which is holidays like Labor Day weekend, May long weekend, and you're more likely to not get outbidded during that time because there's simply less competition. Now, I want to talk about my fifth strategy. Now, this one takes a little bit more work because if you're in a hot housing market like Ottawa right now, I mean, Vancouver's had hot housing markets, Toronto, same thing. Those are growth markets, and it's sometimes next to impossible to find a rental property because 98% of deals on MLS don't work. So really a great avenue to look at is Facebook. There's Facebook groups that are actually wholesalers who sell out-of-pocket listings, or essentially listings that are not MLS. Now, don't take every deal as a potential great deal because sometimes those people on those groups are actually selling their own rental properties and they might not give you a good deal because they just don't want to pay the realtor commissions. But I think that if you're in a hot housing market, you got to look at all avenues and check out Facebook. There is wholesale Facebook groups that are selling wholesale real estate properties, and they've got sometimes a potential tenant lined up. They've got a property manager lined up. So there's some pocket listings that are available in Facebook. There's also if you have a great relationship with your realtor, I have a couple realtors, or actually three, and one of them is so real estate essential focused, and he actually, produces all the number crunching. He has great connections with other real estate investors, and he gets quite a few listings that are off the market. So if you can build a great relationship with your realtor, and that realtor knows you are an action taker and you're in the market to find another property, your realtor could potentially send you that listings are not on MLS. But I guess say you're starting out, you don't have a good relationship with your realtor, you haven't really built that relationship, then look at Facebook, look at Kijiji, Craigslist. You could also, of course, this is going to take a lot more work, but it's worked for my friends who are developers. He actually purchased all his rental properties off the market. He literally knocks on the doors of rental properties that he sees where it's kind of landscape is not looking so good. He knows the neighborhood because he gets in with the neighborhood gossip and knows the demographics of the neighborhood. So he knows that some rental properties are a lot of mom and pop owner managed, and they are looking to actually get out, but they're too late, probably too busy to list a property because it has to get, they have to worry about getting landscaping done, getting lots of renovations done. So they just are, I guess they're tired of being a landlord, but yet they haven't put the effort to list it. So he actually targets these people and he knocks on their doors and just gives them an offer and makes it easy peasy for them to basically, don't have to list it, saves on commissions, realtor commissions. And he's had great success with that. But that takes a lot of intel and knowing the neighborhood, knowing the demographic, knocking on the doors, but it's worked wonders for my developer friends. So summary of my 5 strategies. Number 1, it's not about finding a good rental property, finding a good deal. It's actually creating a great deal through the negotiation process. So if you know the seller's pain points, you can help figure out and solve their problem, which is probably going to create a great deal, a win-win situation between you and the seller. Number 2, be a neighborhood expert. Be sure to figure out inside out of your target neighborhoods, the price point you're looking at, and you'll probably be able to just like get an eye on what's a good deal just from the price point that stimulates your interest. But again, it's not about finding it, it's about creating the deal. Number 3, take action. The moment you see something that's in your target neighborhood, that's in the price range that you're interested in, then be sure to ask a ton of questions and, of course, take action, get a showing, and get in right away. See the property ASAP. Number 4, if you're in a competitive, hot housing market, then look at the slow times. Look at winter. Think of New Year's. Think of Christmas for looking at rental properties. And then number 5, of course, if it's super hot, you're getting outbidded all the time, then you got to look at out-of-pocket listings that are not on MLS, that are on different websites like Facebook. Anyways, I hope you found this video super helpful. I wish someone had done a video for me when I was starting out. And if you are an aspiring real estate investor, or you are a real estate investor looking to buy your next rental property and need to fast track your journey, be sure to hit my link below to jumpstart your real estate investing journey. I'll see you in the next video.